Hey students, I just want to show you as a review for how we are going to get our wood marked out so you can cut it on the scroll saws. First thing I did is I lined up all three of my boards. Remember, these two boards came from your shorter board that we cut on the table saw. We set the fence on the table saw to 1.5 inches. So these two boards should be 1.5 inches wide. And then this board we've already cut as well, and that one is 3 inches wide. The reason those were our magic numbers is so when we put them together, they're all exactly the same width. Then I put my boards on the table in front of me, and I have made sure that the 45-degree angles are towards my body and that they're facing down, so they're just hiding, okay? Next thing I did is I took a ruler. Actually at school I did this with a square. I took that and I marked it out to exactly 3 inches up from that bottom edge that was my 45. So I measured up 3, and then I used a square to draw a line all the way across. Now, if I didn't have a square, what I could possibly do is just measure 2 times at my 3-inch line and then draw a line all the way across, connecting those lines. And then once I had my 3-inch line, I took this piece and I really was patient and I took my time and I marked out a line all the way across. So I knew exactly how wide to make this notch, because all of our boards are a little bit different in thickness. Then I took my ruler and I marked out from the edge of the board in 3/4 of an inch. So I went over 3/4, and then I did that 2 times, once at the top, once at the bottom, and I turned my ruler to draw a straight line, and I did the same thing on this side. I measured in 3/4 of an inch on top, 3/4 of an inch on the bottom, drew a little line, and connected them. I always like to shade in the part that I'm gonna be getting rid of, so I remember which part I don't wanna keep. I'm definitely not going to be cutting these lines, otherwise I would end up with a whole bunch of smaller boards, and I wouldn't end up with my goal, which is this. Then you will follow the video that I have previously posted on Schoology, or maybe you haven't watched that one yet, following the video on how to cut squares. Once you have this cut and it looks like that, what you're going to want to do next is you're going to want to mark out here and here. When you mark out your measurement there and there, you will end up with 2 boards that look like this. So what's my measurement? You're actually going to take your ruler down in the shop and you're going to measure out 3/4 of an inch 2 times. And remember, if you need help measuring 3/4 of an inch, please don't be afraid to ask a classmate or an adult in the room for how to find 3/4 of an inch. Now that really doesn't look very square, but that's okay. I'm gonna check my measurement and cut just a little bit at a time anyways. So I'm gonna cut that out. And I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. I'm gonna measure out 3/4 of an inch here and here. And I'm going to draw a line, just like I did when I marked out this square, or rectangle, I should say. I'm going to draw that line, and I'm going to cut this out. Again, I'm going to follow that video posted on Schoology for how to cut square corners. It was posted earlier. I'm going to cut those out, and I will end up with pieces that look like this. And the reason I want to have them fit together and be marked out so they're like this is when I go to fit everything together, this one will actually flip to the opposite side. This one will flip to the opposite side, and they will lock together. If I was still at school, I would definitely take a teeny bit more time to tighten up those little spots. So I had 0 space in here, but I don't have that capability right now, but you get the idea. Now, since I'm at home and I really want it to fit together tightly, what I can do is take some 80 grit sandpaper and sand it. I just want to make sure that I'm not going to sand this edge this edge or this surface, any of those surfaces, because then my board won't fit together really nice and tight. And to be honest, when I was cutting this, I did have all of my boards together, and as I was cutting, I checked to make sure that everything fit together really nice and snug. See, this one is a really nice tight fit. Just don't want it to be loose or wobbly.